Good morning, everyone. Here we are, Tuesday morning, the second day into another wonderful week. And man, we've got some awesome things planned for you. We're talking about true abundance. We're talking about an example of true leadership. True leadership is living a life of true abundance. And true abundance is a balance of our faith, our foundation, our finances, our relationships, and our health. And I'm using the story of a book that was given to me. Many of you maybe have heard the story already. Someone sent me this book when they heard me telling about our visions for this company and how dedicated we are to educating people both here and in other places. They said, Keith, you've got to read this book. They sent it to me. It's called Start Something That Matters. And it's written by Blake Mykowski, the founder of Tom's Shoes. Now, Tom's Shoes is a company that was began by Blake many years ago in 2006 when he went on a trip to Argentina. Notice how many kids did not have shoes and how that impacted their life and their health and all different walks of what they were doing. And he said, you know what, these kids need shoes. And so he decided to bring back the shoe that they've used for over 100 years in that country and begin to market it here in the United States and sell them and create an entire business model around a one-for-one, which means he sells one pair of shoes, he gives one pair of shoes. For every pair of shoes he sells, he gives one away. So then you, not only do you love the shoes, love the design, love the trends, and there's a huge value this and that for you purchasing the shoe, but when you purchase a shoe, you're actually partnering with him because when you purchase a pair of shoes, he gives a pair of shoes away. How awesome is that? That's why we're beginning to do the exact same thing. We've been working on this for years. We've contributed for years, but I wanted to get fine-tuned that what we could do, one membership changes two lives. So when you're a member here at mentorfish.com, not only are you changing your life, but you're changing somebody else's life as well. Not only are you educating yourself, but you're also, by partnering with us, you're providing an education to somebody somewhere else that without you would not have access to these types of principles. Isn't that exciting to know? And many of you have heard me talk already. We're starting in Nairobi, Kenya. We're starting right there with young adults, the unemployed there, to educate them with these same principles. It's going to look a little different than what you experience, but they're going to get taught the same principles that you're learning right here at mentorfish.com. How exciting is that? So Blake today, I'm using him as an example all week. Today we're talking about foundation, of course. And the foundation is, what do we believe our stories are inside of ourselves? What stories do you have in your foundation? We got to make sure we have balance in our foundation. We got to make sure we have stories in there that serve us. Because you know what happens in life? Events take place. We'll make up stories to them, and those stories get stored in our foundation. And you may not have known this or not, but it's our foundation. It's our heart that determines what it is we will or we will not produce in life. I've said this many times. It's a great, very powerful saying. It says this: as a man or woman thinketh in their heart, so will he or she be. Did you know that? You're never going to outperform your own self-portrait. And I got to tell you what, Blake talks a lot about that in his book. He talks about how, man, when he had his first idea, some of his stories were, Keith, I couldn't do it. Who am I to think I could do this? Would it even work? What would people say? Are people going to laugh at me? He had all these stories of insecurity. All these stories made up questioning his ability and his foundation. And he had to do something to offset it. And I opened the book up here to a place where he talks about it. And it's awesome because it's talking about facing your fears, and that's the part of the book he talks about this. But basically what he's saying is he wanted to develop fear killers. You know, fear killers helped him basically exchange his stories. What he came up with as fear killers are basically the same tools that we've put out in the community for years in our trainings about how to help you exchange your stories in your foundation and then help them stay exchanged. And it talks about, you know, he would surround himself, it talks about right here, he would surround himself with inspirational quotes. These easy to follow pieces of advice. It played a huge role in his career. He kept things in front of him that when he questioned himself or he didn't have the story in himself to move himself forward, he could look and see inspirational quotes that move him forward. He also talks about how when he first started his business, and I'm reading some about of his book here, it says, when I started my business, I was often lonely, so I placed my favorite quotes all over my apartment. They made me feel like I was never really alone. I would type up and print out my favorite quotes on a piece of paper or cut them out of magazines and tape them to my walls. For the first 6 years of my entrepreneurial life, these quotes were all over my apartment, making it look as if a paper tornado had flown past. And here's a couple of his favorite ones. I thought, man, if he used these to build his stories and his foundation, these must be good enough for us too. Changing your thoughts, change your thoughts, and you'll change your world. Norman Vincent Peale. See, he had that story. I got to change my thoughts if I want to change my world. That was a story he kept on putting in to his foundation. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. That's Thomas Edison. These are phenomenal quotes. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. Thomas Edison. Here's one from Winston Churchill. Success is the ability to grow from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. Isn't that powerful to know? And then what's really cool is he talks about something over here. One of his other favorite ways to build his stories, which I've talked about many times, is this guy was addicted to reading and watching biographies and autobiographies. We just talked about that a few weeks ago. Somebody asked me a question what some of my favorite books were. See, I use some of the same sources of content that he does to protect my stories. And so he had to continually build his stories, and it goes on to talk, and we're going to talk more about it throughout the week. He went on and met with other people that were his mentors, of other companies, of other new startup companies, of other companies that had done something that had never been done before, because he needed to believe it was possible. So he goes back to belief and faith, which was yesterday, but he got his stories into his foundation that it was possible that he could do it. And the way he kept those stories exchanged, whenever he doubted, he'd have those quotes. He'd have people. He'd read biographies. He'd watch them on TV. He'd seek advice from mentors. See, mentorship is one of the biggest ways to make sure your stories stay exchanged. You know what? I'm going to find it real quicker. I think I can find it. This is a favorite quote. I actually highlighted this so I could use it and give him credit. Every path is easier to follow when you see someone else's footprints already on it. See, when he questioned his stories, when he needed to get stories built back up into who he was so he could continue to progress forward, he would find people that had already been where he was going. Every path is easier to follow when you see someone else's footprints already on it. Isn't that encouraging to know? So if you don't know what story you should put in your foundation, find somebody who's doing something similar. Now, he's not doing exactly what I want to do, but he has the same, he's doing a different what, but he has the same why. Contribution, serving people, that's our why. Serving people with education to unlock greatness. And that's why we're putting it into place. We're working on our infrastructure right now. We're working on putting things in place in Kenya right now so we get to the point where you will know. We'll be able to get to the point where we're able to give you a name. So you know your commitment to 12 months, your monthly dues, your monthly $49, even if you paid a year in advance and got the discount, a percentage of that is providing the education to someone else, somewhere else, that without you would not have access to it. How does that make you feel? I can tell you right now, you've probably already picked up my passion. It makes me feel unbelievable to know that we're changing 2 lives at a time. We believe it's possible. We're going to change this world 2 lives at a time. Isn't that awesome? We'll talk more about this tomorrow. He talks about tomorrow's Finance Day. It's one of our favorite days. He talks about it nonstop, and we're going to touch on that. He talks about the value of being a good steward and making sure you're being wise with where and how you spend your money, stuff that we've talked about before. It's no accident. He has these principles. I'm not saying he took my principles, and I'm not saying I'm taking his. The principles are true. None of them are mine anyways. These are life-proven principles, and he used them. And man, do the research on where they're at today. They are changing the world 2 pair of shoes at a time. Let's talk about some wisdom today, and we have a question for today. Today's question is, how do I make more time? Actually, no, that's Thursday's question. Ooh, I almost gave you a slip up. I almost sneak peeked into Thursday's question for you. Today's question is, how do I stay positive about who I am? That's today's question. You almost got a little extra Thursday question today. Don't envy bad people. Don't even want them to be around. And they think all about causing a disturbance. All they think about is causing a disturbance. All they talk about is making trouble. It takes wisdom to build a house and understanding to set it on a firm foundation. It takes knowledge to furnish its rooms with fine furniture and beautiful draperies. It's better to be wise than strong. Intelligence outranks muscle any day. Strategic planning is the key to warfare. To win, you need a lot of good counsel. Exactly what we just got done talking about. That's what Blake got. That's what we use. That's what we're providing to you. Great counsel to help you move yourself forward. Wise conversation is way over the heads of fools. In a serious discussion, they haven't a clue. The person who's always cooking up some evil soon gets a reputation as a prince of rogues. Fools incubate sin. Cynics desecrate beauty. If you fall to pieces in a crisis, there wasn't much to you in the first place. Rescue the perishing. Don't hesitate to step in and help. If you say, hey, that's none of my business, will that get you off the hook? Someone is watching you closely, you know. Someone not impressed with weak excuses. Eat honey, dear child, it's good for you, and delicacies that melt in your mouth. Likewise, knowledge and wisdom for your soul. Get that and your future's secured. Your hope is on a solid rock. Don't interfere with good people's lives. Don't try to get the best of them. No matter how many times you trip them up, God-loyal people don't stay down long. Soon they're up and they're on their feet, while the wicked end up flat on their faces. Don't laugh when your enemy falls. Don't crow over his collapse. God might see and become very provoked, and then take pity on his plight. Don't bother your head with braggarts, or wish you could succeed like the wicked. Those people have no future at all. They are headed down a dead-end street. Fear God, dear child. Respect your leaders. Don't be defiant or mutinous. Without warning, your life can turn upside down, and who knows how or when it might happen. It's wrong, very wrong, to go along with injustice. Whoever whitewashes the wicked gets a black mark in the history books, but whoever exposes the wicked will be thanked and rewarded. An honest answer is like a warm hug. First, plant your fields, then build your barn. Don't talk about your neighbors behind their backs. No slander, please. Don't say to anyone, I'll get you back at that for what you did to me. I'll make you pay for what you did. See, that's not a great way to live. Revenge, don't even dirty your hands with it. You don't have to worry about getting people back. Just continue to move forward. And the golden rule, what comes around, goes around. Karma, whatever you want to call it, will get them back. Don't waste your time. Keep yourself moving forward. Today's question, and it is Tuesday's question, how do I stay positive about who I am? Well, that's exactly what we were talking about today with how Tom, we always call him Tom because it's Tom's shoes. He says he's used to it, so I may call him Tom a few times. Blake used the same thing that I'm going to suggest that you use and we've talked about before. How do you stay positive about who you are is make sure you're governing the stories that you have in your foundation. That's why the exchange is so important. You know, we're going to make up a story. So I always tell people, if you're going to make up a story that will serve you. Now, if you've not been to one of our exchange events, I'd love to invite you out to one. But you know what? Right here in the Mentorfish community, if you want to educate yourself on the exchange and the power of value in yourself and being more positive with who you are, go into the articles archive. Go into the articles archive and click the exchange topic, the exchange category. And then that's going to open up another page. It's going to have about 8 articles there on the exchange. And it explains what the exchange is, how to do it, how to protect yourself, how to stay exchanged, because exchange is the first step. Staying exchanged is the second step. So the answer to the question is, how do you stay positive with who you are? Make sure you've got positive stories about who you are. You know, I always tell people, say, Keith, well, so many people have told me so many different things, or have so many events in life. Exchange those and don't let other people provide you the stories, especially if they don't serve you. I've often said this. You may have to let somebody into your house, but that does not mean you have to let them into the foundation of who you are. You may have to let them into your house, but that does not mean you have to let them into the foundation of who you are. Don't let other people's truths that don't work for them become your truths. Don't let other people's screwed up stories become your screwed up stories. Have stories in your foundation that will serve you. You know what? I'm valuable. I'm capable. I do have greatness. I'm learning as I move forward. I'm progressing. It's not about perfection. See, when you have stories like that in who you are, you'll begin to think greater about yourself. You'll increase your value, you'll increase your self-esteem, and you'll increase your confidence. Confidence is so key to walking in your greatness. So make sure you have stories in your foundation that will serve you, and use the resources to help you get them in there, then use the ones that we give you here to help them stay in there so you can believe the truth about yourself, which is you are great. Tomorrow we're going to continue on. Tomorrow's finances, don't miss it. Have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you again soon. God bless you.